Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear students. This is Miss Layla Al-Jihani. Inshallah, today we will focus on the second unit we took in this semester. Inshallah, today we will focus on unit 6. Do you know where it is? Okay, this is the unit we will focus on, inshallah, today. Let's summarize what we covered in our unit. In the vocabulary, we covered features of community and urban living, some vocabulary related to urban living, transportation words we used in transportation. For the function, talk about quality of life, describe features of places, make comparisons, as we did also in our grammar, ask for information. For the grammar, we took the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives, and we compare using as and as. Okay, do you remember when we put the adjective in the middle? Also, we covered the indirect questions. How do we change the direct questions into indirect questions? Also, the definite article the. When do we use the definite article the? The articles are 3, a and an and the. When do we use the? Do you remember? For the listening, we listened for specific details in a new story about garbage and recycling. How do we protect our environment through recycling? صح? Pronunciation, we focused on the intonation of direct and indirect questions, the rise and the fall, when we pronounce these questions. For the reading, we read about the pride of the Red Sea. Also, for the writing, we wrote about the assets and features, future aims of your city or neighborhood. What do we aim in the future to achieve, inshallah? The project, we wrote about a town or a city in your country or in the world. We talked about we used the vocabulary, describe the places, the features of these places. Inshallah, today we're gonna write a small paragraph. We will practice using the words we learned and the vocabulary we learned in our exercises. We have 3 exercises today. Each one of them we will focus on one aspect we took already in our unit. For the first part, let's revise the comparisons when we are comparing and the superlatives forms of adjectives. What is the difference between comparatives and superlative? Do you remember? The comparative, we use it to compare between, excellent, 2 things. We are comparing only between 2 things. And the superlatives form of adjectives, we use it to compare between 2? No, 3 and more. If we have 3 objects or people and more, we use the superlative form of adjectives. Like here, look at the examples. Buses are fast. Bus tickets are expensive. The first one here we have. We are comparing between buses. No, this is a regular sentence. We're not comparing between 2 things. Here, bus tickets are expensive. These are regular sentences. When we change it to comparatives, trains are faster than buses. Here we're comparing between buses and trains, صح? And here, train tickets are more expensive. Here, this is the superlative form. We are comparing between trains and other means of transportation. The superlative, planes are the fastest. Plane tickets are the most expensive. Okay? Here we use the comparative and superlative. Go back to our lesson and do the exercises as to revise your information, to recall the information. Comparative are used to show the difference between 2 objects, as we said, or people. Like, for example, tall and short. Amal is taller than Shahad. We compared between Amal and Shahad. Shahad is shorter than Amal. We are comparing between 2 students or 2 girls. And here, with the superlative, we use it to differentiate between 3 objects or people or more, okay? Like heavy and light. The watermelon is the heaviest fruit. We're comparing between watermelon and all the other fruits. Pineapple is the lightest fruit, okay? And here we talked about how do we spell the superlative form and the comparative form. Do you remember? Go back to the table we already took before. With the short adjectives, the adjectives, we sometimes have a short adjective and sometimes we have a long adjective. The short adjective usually contains 1 or 2 syllables, okay? Like the word slow. Slow is 1 syllable. So we add ER to it. When most of the adjective, we only add ER to it, like slow, slower, fast, faster, tall, taller, okay? Ending with a consonant Y, what do? We remove the Y, we add I-ER, like hungry, hungrier, happy, happier, funny, funnier. Ending with a vowel, then the consonant, we double the consonant, then add ER. Like here, we have a vowel, I, صح? So what do? We double this consonant, like bigger, fatter, fitter, okay? And here we have the long adjectives when it contains 3 or more syllables. What do? We use the word more to make the comparative form. We use more, most, 2-syllable adjectives which do not end with Y. When it doesn't end with Y, what do? Mary is more polite. We don't add anything. We just add more than Cindy, okay? All adjectives of 3 syllables or more, like more hardworking than, yani any adjective, we just add more to it when it's 3 syllables or more, okay? Now for the superlative, how do we form it? Most word, we add, instead of ER, we add EST, okay? Slow, we add the slowest, the fastest, the tallest. Hungry, it's the same. We remove the Y and add IEST. Hungry, the hungriest, the happiest, the funniest. And also here we double the consonant, similar to what we covered in our comparative form. We double the consonant, add EST, like big, biggest, we double the consonant, the biggest, the fattest, the fittest, okay? And when it is 3 or more syllables, we add the most, okay? Instead of more, we add the most beautiful, the most dangerous, the most crowded, okay? This is related to the spelling between, how do we compare between the objects. When it's 2, we use the comparative, how do we spell it? And when it's 3 or more, we use the superlative, and how do we spell it? Here, sometimes we have irregular form, okay? We don't have a spelling to it. It's irregular, like the adjective good, the superlative, the comparative form, better, okay? Better. The best when it's the superlative form. Bad, worst, the worst, okay? So the best and the worst, superlative form when we are comparing between 3 and more. Better, worst when we are comparing between 2 objects or 2 people, okay? This is the irregular form. Sometimes also we compare using as and as. Do you remember? As, and then we put the adjective in the middle, then as. To say 2 things are the same or they are different. Like what? In Japan, trains are as expensive as planes. The hostel is just as comfortable as the hotel, okay? And sometimes we say it doesn't, صح? We show the difference. Doesn't cost as much, okay? Go back to the grammar in our unit for more examples and more practice. I prepared this exercise for you, okay? We have this table in front of us. We have the speed, how fast things go, the fare, the cost, how much everything costs, the frequency. How often do you see these means of transportation? We are comparing between buses, trams, metro, and taxi, okay? The difference between these kinds and types of transportation. So you have to write statements, okay? using this table to compare between things. You can use superlative, you can use comparative, you can use as and as to compare between things, okay? Here I have this example, I prepared it for you. The bus is just as frequent as the metro, but the metro is much faster than the bus. Here, faster, we used the comparative form because we are comparing between the metro and the bus, okay? Look at the table. Try to write down like at least 5 sentences. You can share these statements with your friends. And now I will show you what did I write. I'm sure you did really good. You can pause the video, think about it, write it down to recall the information, to put the grammar we took into practice, into writing, okay? Look at the table and do it. Here I prepared 5 statements. The trams is not as expensive as the metro, but the metro is more frequent than the tram. The metro is faster and more expensive than the tram. Here I used 2 adjectives to describe it. The bus is as expensive as the tram, but the bus is more frequent than the tram. The metro is the fastest means of public transportation. Here I use the superlative form. The taxi is the most frequent and the most expensive. Also here we use the superlative form, mean of public transportation. Do you see these examples? You should write something similar. When you are looking at this the table, try to write down and compare between means of transportation, okay? Now let's see the other part we covered in our unit. I prepared another exercise. It's related to indirect questions. Questions. What does indirect question mean? Here we have direct questions, the regular questions we use that start with what and where, okay? There is no inversion of the subject and the adverb. When you change from a direct questions into indirect, we don't, there is no inversion of the subject and the verb in direct questions. يعني إيش يا miss? Like here, what is? We have what is, صح? The name of the street. We start the indirect questions with these 2 phrases. Do you know? Could you tell me? Both are correct. You can use any one of them, okay? Do you know or could you tell me? طيب, we write the question the same? لا, we change it. We move the is here and put it at the end, as you notice here, okay? And here we have does. We move this S here, we add it to the verb, opens, okay? Do you know what the name of the street is? Okay? Where is the nearest bank? Do you know where the nearest bank is? When does the store opens? Do you know when the store opens? Where can I get good pizza? Could you tell me where I can? So here, instead of can I, you change it, I can, to a regular statement, because here we use the question form. I can get good pizza. How many people live here? Could you tell me how many people live here? Who planned this? Who planned this town? Could you tell me who planned this town? Okay? Now for the exercise, it's related. You have to change it from a direct question into an indirect question. You can use do you know or could you tell me? Okay? I have the first statement here. What is the cost of living like in Saudi Arabia? This is the question. So I started with could you tell me, and then what the cost of living is like in Saudi Arabia. So I write it, I remove the is here to here at the end, okay? Number 2, 3, 4, read it, write it down in your notebooks, okay? And then try to change it using do you know or could you tell me to start the statement. Keep in mind when you have does, you move the S and attach it to the main verb. And when you have do, you don't do anything. I have also these statements 5, 6, 7. So write it down, 2, 3, 4, pause the video, write it down, and also where 5, 6, and 7. Now let's see the answers together. For question 2, what is the most efficient public transportation in the city? This is the direct question. We started with, do you know what is the most efficient transportation in the city? Is. We moved the is at the end here. Where can we park our car? So can we will be we can. Okay, we change it. Could you tell me where we can park our car? The direct question number 4, how do most people commute to work? Do you remember the word commute? What does it mean? Do you remember when we said people commute? That means they go, they go to their work, commute to work, the way they go and reach their destination. Do you know how most people commute to work? So this is the indirect question. Number 5, when did they renovate the museum? Could you tell me when they renovated? So here we have did, we add the D here, the museum. How much is the train's fare to the suburbs? So we have is here, we put it at the end, and in the beginning we could you tell me we used. Number 7, what are they doing to reduce pollution in the city? Do you know what they are? So instead of are they, we put they are doing to reduce population in the city. Easy? I'm sure it is. Now for the last exercise we have writing, okay? For our exercise here, we have writing. Exercise 3, write a paragraph describing the features of an ideal city. So you will describe a city, you think it's the perfect city, okay? And tell me what made it city perfect, what made it a great city. So you have to explain, give reasons to convince the reader that it's the ideal and the perfect city, okay? To help you, I wrote these words. We already covered it in our lesson, in our unit, like features of a town or a community. We have clean air, cost of living, crime rate, green area, housing, public transportation, system, quality of life, recreation. These words, we can use it to describe a place. Adjectives, you can use cozy, efficient, low, narrow, overall, polluted, punctual. You can use these adjectives when you are writing your paragraph. For the nouns, you don't only have to follow these. These I just wrote it to help you, okay? And when you are writing, please keep in mind to use the comparisons. Do you remember the comparative and superlative form of adjectives? You can use it, and you can use as and as. The last thing I wrote it to help you: bridge, polted, train, commuter, fare, suburbs, survey, and vehicle. These words, nouns, can help you when you are writing your paragraphs. Pause the video, think about the paragraph, and keep in mind the words we cover, and write it down. I will try to write down with you some statements, and then I will show you the example I have provided for all of you. How can we start this statement? How can we start it? Can you help me now? Okay, so here we are writing, describing the features of an ideal city, okay? So we will use the flow here. Okay, yalla bismillah. So we will explain and tell the reader about the ideal city. Though the noun we're going to use is the ideal city. So we say the ideal city. The ideal city is So I start using adjectives now. Is a safe, so we say safe and comfortable. Safe and comfortable what? Place to live. So this is my first sentence. Then I put a full stop. Remember, when you're writing your sentence, you start with the capital, like here, the, and you end your sentence with a full stop, okay? Here we have the noun, the ideal city. It's a noun. Ideal, it's an adjective. We are describing the noun city. And is, since it's singular, we use is. Safe, we use two adjectives to describe the place to live in, okay? Now, how can we write another sentence? So we start giving more example. So we can say there, we start with the capital, there isn't or is not, okay? Isn't or is not. A lot, since it's safe, there isn't a lot of crimes, you can say, or you can say there isn't a lot of traffic. We're talking about the ideal, the perfect city, صح? So traffic is important. Comma, we have another idea, let's complete it. And the public, since we have a lot of words, we use transportation, so we can say, and the public transportation is fast and what? So we're describing the public transportation, and you can say cheap, any adjective you can describe the public transportation in the perfect city, or efficient. It's another adjective we can use, okay? Write down your ideas and try to correct for each other the statements. And now let's see what I have prepared for you. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay, let's see it. Yalla. The ideal city, let's read it together. The ideal city is a safe and comfortable place to live. This is the first statement we wrote. There isn't a lot of traffic, and the public transportation is fast and efficient. This is what we wrote together so far. So what else did I write? You can write any thoughts you have. The environment. So we started talking about the environment is pleasant with clean air, so there is no pollution, and lots of parks and green areas where people can relax. The city has many modern buildings, such as hospitals, schools, and universities. It also offers a variety of cultural and recreational facilities, such as shopping malls, sport stadiums, and museums. This is the last exercise we have for our lesson today. Hopefully it was easy for all of you, and we revised together and we summarized our unit together. We use the vocabulary in our writing. We use the grammar to compare between things. Inshallah, I will see you next class in Enrichments 3, where we focus on Unit 1 from our second book, Super Goal 6. See you then.